Now is former State Department advisor on Iran, Gabriel Noronha. Gabriel, thanks very much for being here this morning. What is your reaction to this latest? It feels like there's perhaps a new opening of a front because of the Kurdish fighters as well.
So we're getting mixed reports on whether the Kurds are indeed invading from Iraq. What we do know is that there's a lot of desire on behalf of the Kurds to go liberate their Kurdish counterparts. The Kurds have been some of the most hardest hit by the Iranian regime over the last decades. If we remember the Mahsa Amini protests 3 years ago, Mahsa Jina Amini was a Kurd. And so that could happen. We could be arming them. But frankly, this is a very dangerous thing because if you unlock sectarian pressure and identity in Iran, you start having a major backlash from the Persian nationalities as well that could actually kind of counteract some of this movement. So if the United States is backing the Kurds, my hope is we are also backing the other ethnicities, the other groups within Iran, the monarchists. You have to balance it out so you don't have something where you create a situation where it's actually Iranians uniting against what they see as a separatist movement.
Yeah, very good point there. And meanwhile, in response to all of this, Iran decides to attack the Gulf countries in the region. I want to get your take on that. Here's General Petraeus, David Petraeus, of course, who led the surge into Iraq so many years ago. Here's what he said about that. Watch.
I think a really foolish move by the Iranians was to hit the Arab countries in the Gulf who really had wanted to stay out of this, but now are in it because of strikes against civilian targets in their countries, the Gulf states. And now their aircraft are already flying as part of the overall defensive effort. And we'll see if there is a decision about us using their bases again, which they had initially denied because they had wanted to stay on the sidelines. I don't know now if in the middle of this campaign we feel comfortable to go into these bases, whether we have what's called the bed down, the munitions and all of that, and fuel ready to go. But that could present an option to us. I think the focus right now is still on the Iranian retaliatory capabilities, and one of those is what they might do to mine the Strait of Hormuz or otherwise interfere with freedom of navigation from the Gulf. Keep in mind that about 20% of the world's crude oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz on a daily basis, and roughly about 20% of the liquefied natural gas as well. So that would be very, very significant.
And Gabriel, you've said that this is also very notable, what Iran has done in terms of retaliation to the Gulf countries.
You know, Iran has sent 300 rockets and drones, missiles, rockets to Israel. They have hit 2,500 missiles and drones towards the GCC countries. So this is not really a war from Iran against Israel. It's a war from Iran against the Gulf states because they believe that that is the place where they can pressure their leaders to complain to Trump and wrap the war up early. They know that the Israelis are going to withstand anything that Iran throws at them. They know that the United States is willing to do a lot, but the Gulf is perceived by the Iranians as the weak link, so they're going to imposing all sorts of costs against the Gulf, who, by the way, over the last decade has, against the United States' wishes, had rapprochement with the Iranians, done a lot of things to build goodwill, build stability, and Iran is repaying this favor with 2,500 rockets, missiles, drones at their hotels, at oil and building infrastructure, not against military targets. Yeah. They're trying to impose costs against civilians.
That's unbelievable.
Here.
Even HBJ, the former Prime Minister of Qatar, said this is not going to end well for Iran in this. Can you imagine 2,500 drone strikes to Gulf countries versus 300 to Israel on Iran's part, Mark?
That's absolutely insane. Yeah. I mean, they're declaring war on everyone.
Right, exactly. Gabriel, in terms of the length of this, what are your expectations?
I do think President Trump is going to do those full 4 or 5 weeks because, you know, that's where you start getting to the limit of the War Powers Resolution, where then he has to go take extra measures. But the other thing is that's how long it takes to destroy all the targets you want to hit, all the besieged law enforcement forces. If you want to do regime change, if that is an actual desire on behalf of President Trump, you have to use that full runway.
Well, the Pentagon released this new video showing an American submarine entirely taking out an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. This is the first strike of its kind since World War II. The U.S. Central Command said it struck or sunk over 20 Iranian ships in the process. The military deploying Lockheed Martin's long-range precision strike missiles for the first time in combat against the Iranian targets. And the president said that the U.S. military is well positioned right now. How would you assess the Iranian side right now in terms of their capabilities? Have they been completely defanged?
Their Navy is gone, entirely gone. They are, as you heard earlier, they barely have the ability to launch missiles and drones now. Their command and control's been obliterated. Here's the issue. They are now they are going and tweeting that they are killing 500 Americans in this strike already. They are messaging to their own internal audience that they are not winning the war, but they're imposing massive costs against us. The issue is, if we want them to negotiate an end to the war in a few weeks, they believe that they are winning. And so they are setting themselves up for a situation where they can't actually even get out of this.
All right, we will leave it there. Gabriel, thanks very much for your insights on this. Gabriel Noronha, we'll be right back. Stay with us.